Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the Walmart exclusive release of the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back Retro Collection Yoda. That's a mouthful. Looking at the card, it does keep the same theme that we had last year with those white printed on worn edges. Not a fan, don't like it. I guess I'm glad it's there, as I said on the previous video, for consistency's sake. On the top of the card, you do get the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back logo. Yoda's name underneath that. Very nice image of Yoda sitting on Dagobah. Very reminiscent of the original release back in the 80s. On the left, for whatever reason, in a very large blister, you do see Yoda and his various accessories that are included. And same as last year, you do have that large Retro Collection sticker on the card. Some people have luck removing them. I never did on the cards that I tested it out with for the figures that I opened. So I would just say proceed with caution if that's something you want to do. On the back of the card, top half talks about the Star Wars Retro Collection being inspired by the 1980 Star Wars figures. Just below that is going to be your listing of the other figures that are currently available in this line that are individually carded. And then, of course, the bottom part of the card is your legal information. And now looking at them out of the packaging, I'm going to keep some of the accessories on because I feel like it completes the outfit. You know, the robe, his belt. We'll look at the cane and snake later. Looking at him with his robe on, though, I think things are looking pretty good. Keep in mind these figures are not made from the original molds, but rather castings made of the figures. So same as the rest of the Retro Collection line, some of the fine details within the sculpts, the various lines of definition, are not all that detailed. Everything tends to be just a little bit smoother, and I think that is very evident on this particular figure. Especially since, well, Yoda had a lot of wrinkles. He had a lot of lines on his original sculpting. I don't have the original figure. I certainly wish I did. So I had to look at some photos online, and it seemed very evident, at least to me, and much quicker in comparison of the other Retro Collection figures, that something just doesn't look right. And it's a very minor detail. I mean, we're just talking about the smoothness of the skin in comparison as to not being as well-defined lines in there. Otherwise, though, a lot of it is very similar looking. You're getting a better paint job within the eyes. I think things are looking really good here. A very well-defined pupil. And the overall coloring of his head seems, again, judging by photos, seems to be a very close match in color. Along the back of the head towards the bottom, you can still make out some of that hair being sculpted in. Still comes with that very nice soft goods robe. Texturing to it certainly looks very similar to what was done for the original vintage figure. Coloring this time around is certainly different. This seems to be a much more cream color, I'd say, than a darker color we had on the original release. And then holding that robe closed is his utility belt, where it looks like maybe in the silver coloring is his candle light that he tried to take from R2. I don't know. It kind of looks that way, but I don't know why it would be sculpted on his belt. You've got, I don't know, maybe that's his blistle? Am I saying that right? It was the musical instrument he had around his neck. Certainly seems that's what they've got sculpted onto his belt, and then a pouch off to the side. I could totally be making up those first two things, but that third thing on the screen right side, definitely a pouch. And then that belt is just held together by a snap closure on the back. Removing that robe so you can get a better look at the chest, legs, and arms. Same as before, your detail just not as highly defined, but overall you're still getting a nice look. Some various ruffles and folds being done for the fabric. Coloring, kind of missing the mark here. The arms look great, as do the legs. They seem to match up very well. Center portion of his body is certainly leaning more of a brownish green color for some reason. From the photos I've seen, that wasn't done that way on the original release. Not sure what went wrong here. I don't necessarily care because I'm going to have the robe on anyways. So this will be the most I ever see it. I do like that you can still make out the little rope wrapped around his waist. And then coloring for his hands and feet looking pretty good. Seems to be a little bit of a lighter colored green than the original release. Once again though, I mean, if you don't have the other figure in your hand, I don't think you're going to mind all that much. But then again, I think anyone who's really trying to get the exact vintage figure would probably just go that route anyways. As for articulation, your head's going to swivel a full 360. You get a full rotation at the arms, and then the legs swing straight out and really only go back a smidge. And then for additional accessories, he comes with his cane and the snake. Looking at that snake first, it wraps well around his head. The shape does seem to be very identical to the original release. Orange coloring looks like it's very close to me. Again, I'm just going by photos. But same thing, you're just not getting as highly defined lines that are being sculpted, throughout the body of the snake. And then for his cane, kind of definitely a duller color this time around. The photos I've seen made it look like the original release had a very nice shine to it, and I think the coloring is a little bit lighter this time around also. Beyond that, much is the same. You're getting the same look. Little wood grain texturing, though, is just not as highly defined. I really just keep mentioning those things in case someone is wondering how things compare. His left hand holds the cane very well, and it seems like a nice length. So overall for me, while yes, I mean there are some differences between the original vintage release and these retro collection figures, I certainly don't mind that. I know what I'm buying into when I purchase this line, and these are very close enough in replication for me where I still get a very nice looking figure, and in some of the cases for these figures, as we'll eventually get into, they're going to be much better looking than the original figures that I do have. So I really do hope that this is something that Hasbro keeps doing. And with that said, I'd definitely like to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.